Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay in the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
The Black and Gold Banneret podcast is brought to you by the Unger Real Estate Group, powered by eXp Realty, proudly serving Orange, Seminole, and Lake counties. Call 407-790-9957 or visit WeSellOrlando.net. Welcome to the Black and Gold Banneret podcast Summer Sessions. I'm Jeff Sharon along with Eric Lopez, and we continue with our summer sessions here with diving into a little UCF baseball. Eric Lopez, you've been out and about. We saw you hanging out with Shelby Turnier from UCF, formerly of UCF softball, currently of the Chicago Bandits, doing some work out there with against the USSSA Pride. But when we talk about UCF pitching in general, there's one guy who kind of starts it all with this most recent generation of UCF baseball, and that is Mike Maroth, the former MLB pitcher. And you caught up with him recently for this most recent summer session, Elo. So why don't you tell us how it all came about and what you guys talked about?
Yeah, that was cool to catch up, get a chance to talk to Mike Maroth, of course, who pitched in the late 90s for UCF, was at UCF from 96 to 98. We ended up being a third-round draft pick for the Boston Red Sox, played in the major leagues with the Detroit Tigers, as well as the St. Louis Cardinals. And I had a chance to talk to him because he's actually close to UCF now. He's actually in the Central Florida area. He's in his first season as the pitching coach for the Florida Fire Frogs, who is this affiliate minor league team for the Atlanta Braves. He's been a minor league coach. He was in the minor league coaching with the Detroit Tigers minor league system. This is in his first year with the Fire Frogs, who they play up at Osceola. And, I kind of see the opportunity to get a chance to talk to Mike Maroth because, I've been curious, I'm like, wow, Mike Maroth. I mean, here's a guy, we kind of get spoiled with all the guys in the, drafted so high. I mean, Mike Maroth was a third-round pick. I remember when I moved to Orlando in 2000, Mike Maroth was a huge name at that time at UCF because he had just gotten drafted a couple years earlier. Mm-hmm. He was in the system. And that was right at the heyday there with UCF baseball under Jay Bergman. Of course, you had Jason Arnold, Justin Pope to follow right after that. But Maroth, and really, I think people may not realize this with the success that a lot of UCF baseball guys are having in baseball in general. As I talked to Mike about, I mean, you've got Chad Mottola, for example, who's the hitting coach this year for the Tampa Bay Rays. Yep. You got Mike Maroth in the system. Maroth talks about other guys that are playing, like Danny Winkler, a former pitcher at UCF. He's currently on the Braves big league roster. So there's a lot of storylines with the baseball players, alums, either coaching or playing from UCF this summer. So it was cool to catch up with Mike to talk about what got him into coaching. And interestingly enough, he still follows UCF very closely. As a matter of fact, as you'll learn, you, Jeff, and Mike were in the same place on New Year's Day.
Yeah, that's right. We were both at the Peach Bowl. He talks about that a little bit and plenty more. So this is really good. I think you, all you UCF baseball seam heads out there are going to really like this one. So just a quick reminder before we go to the interview, remember to follow us at blackandgoldbanneret.com and follow us on Twitter at UCF_Banneret. I'm at Jeff_Sharon. Follow Eric at Eric Lopez Elo. And you can also follow Brian Murphy at Spokes_Murphy, and hit us up on Facebook as well, facebook.com/blackandgoldbanneret, and subscribe to this podcast if you don't already on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and TuneIn. All right, let's dive right in. Here's Eric Lopez and his interview with former UCF and Major League pitcher Mike Maroth.
And joining us now here on the Black and Gold Banneret podcast, of course, He's a UCF alum, of course, was a great pitcher here for the Knights from 96 to 98. Was a third-round pick of the 98 MLB draft by the Boston Red Sox. Played in the major leagues with the Detroit Tigers and the St. Louis Cardinals. And now currently is in his first season as the pitching coach of the Florida Fire Frogs. And, of course, I speak of Mike Maroth, who joins us here. And, Mike, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. Just in the middle of the season grinding.
Well, tell us a little bit about the Fire Frogs. This is your first season with them. Tell us about how you came about to joining the Fire Frogs and really coming back home. I mean, being here in the Central Florida area.
Well, after I retired from playing, I was fortunate enough to actually start a coaching career 7 years ago with the Tigers. And I was in the same league with the Lakeland team, the Flying Tigers, for a few years and bounced around over there. And then I had an opportunity to come over to the Atlanta Braves organization, which they're based out of Disney right there, here in Orlando. It's not far from home. So I've been fortunate 6 of the 7 years that I've been coaching now, I've been able to live at home. And in professional baseball, living at home and, playing season, coaching seasons is unheard of. So I've been very fortunate to be able to do that.
What was it that interested you in getting into coaching, and who influenced you? Who were some of the influences of people that maybe you went into? They were coaches that maybe influenced you to get into coaching.
Well, I think just all the coaches along the line that, impacted my career and had a big influence on me. But to be honest with you, when I was playing, even towards the end of my career, even after I decided to retire, it wasn't just an easy transition into coaching where it's like, okay, I know I want to go into coaching. Honestly, when I was playing all the way till the end, I never saw myself coaching. I told myself that once I was done playing, that was it. I was moving on, and so I didn't have any intentions of coaching. And then all of a sudden the opportunity to stay at home and be the coach, pitching coach with the Lakeland team, where the Tigers came up, and I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot, see if I like it. And that first year, I was pretty much hooked, just being able to help the young players and use the experience and the influences that I had from coaches, and to be able to share that with young players, just, following the same path that I once had when I was younger. It all came together, and it's definitely, I got a passion for it that I didn't even know I had.
Describe what it's like coaching in minor league baseball, whatever levels. You've done different levels. You mentioned with Lakeland and so forth, even to the present with the Fire Frogs. What describe that? What the lifestyle?
Well, it's totally different than the major leagues. It's really a grind. The players do not make a lot of money. They're pursuing their dreams. They're trying to get up there, and it's a grind. All of them are away from home for the most part. Very few have the opportunity to be at home and play in the same city that they're from. That is extremely rare, just like I said with coaching. So they're away from home. They're young. They're pursuing their dreams. Some are from high school, some are from college, and they're all on the same path to the big leagues and just trying to work their way up and develop and make it up there to the big leagues.
You mentioned, of course, your playing career. You played in the big leagues with the Detroit Tigers and the St. Louis Cardinals. You were a third-round pick in 1998 by the Boston Red Sox. Describe that feeling when you were drafted in the third round and your emotions there.
Well, to be honest with you, it's kind of stunned. I was really, I knew it was going to get drafted. At least it looked like it. But until it actually happens, you never know. And so you hear all kinds of different things. A lot of speculation on where you may go. And when I got the phone call, it was kind of surreal. It's the moments you take that phone call and they tell you that, and it's like what you've been waiting for, and it's like, okay, is this really happening? It's almost kind of feels like a dream come true, and you're not sure if you're going to wake up or not. So it takes a while for it to sink in. And I would say that a lot of times in my career, even my major league debut, it takes a while for some of those things to really sink in, because the moment you experience it, it takes a while to kind of really realize that you're there.
And so you get drafted. When you were going into that draft, were you thinking, "Hey, I'm gonna probably go pro no matter what"? You said you were surprised that obviously once you got drafted the third round, it was a no-brainer. Hey, this is a chance to go pro. But did you have any preconceived thoughts about, hey, maybe I'll either come back to college. Maybe I'll just continue to play pro regardless where I'm drafted. What kind of mindset was going into it? Because that's always the tricky part, right? When you get into these baseball drafts, it's so unpredictable with so many rounds.
It is. And really, I just kind of left the door open. I wanted to be open-minded about it. I knew that typically after your junior year, which was where I was at that point, if you get drafted there, that's usually your best opportunity to go professional as far as leverage. That was my intent. I always wanted to be able to move on to the professional level, but I also knew I had the option of going back to school. So no matter where it fell, I knew that my senior year was in front of me, and I would play at UCF if it didn't work out. But my goal and my mindset was really kind of on the draft, hoping that I would go to where it was a situation where it was a good opportunity for me to get into professional baseball, and being in the third round it was. Then it's just about trying to work it out. We were able to work through it. But once it was the third round, I mean, at that point, it pretty much was I don't want to say a guarantee, but it was like, okay, well, now's my time. If I'm going to take a chance at pro ball, this is definitely a good opportunity, and I better go ahead and do it.
You spent 2 seasons with the Red Sox organization. You played at Single A, Sarasota organization. You got traded to the Tiger organization before the start of the 2000 season. What is that like? You're playing in the minors, and then you find out, hey, you're being dealt to another organization.
Once again, it's almost a surreal moment, but I'll tell you, it's one of those moments, though, that I'll never forget. I'll take you back to the exact moment that I ended up getting traded. I pitched that night. We were in Sarasota, and I had pitched that night, and I was coming back after getting some dinner to come back to settle for the night, and call it a night. And my roommate, which was one of my teammates, had the phone in his hand, and I was coming out saying the manager's on the phone, wanted to speak to me. And that was the trade deadline of that year. Actually, that night was a trade deadline. It was at midnight, and he was calling me right at midnight. So I was one of the last trades in that year at the trade deadline. And so he's walking out on the phone, answering it, and he let me know that I had been traded. Before that day started at the field, I remember pitching coach saying that none of us had to worry about anything. We weren't really in any talks, so you don't have to worry about it. And then next thing you know it, here we are at midnight, and I've got a phone coming towards me with the manager telling me I've been traded. So, your first thought is, oh man, it's this team didn't really want me around, and then you kind of have mixed feelings because then you're like, okay, well, obviously there's a team that wants me, and it was one of those things where you kind of had to look at the positives, and there was definitely positives there. And I think there always is with a trade, because you wouldn't be traded. You wouldn't go to some other organization unless they wanted you. And then also was traded for an established big leaguer at the time. It was a 1-for-1 trade. So, the other positive for me was like, okay, well, I'm getting traded for a big leaguer. Here I am, just a minor league kid, with a year of experience. So they definitely must want me if they're going to trade one of their big league players for me. So obviously worked out from that point forward, ended up getting an opportunity with the Tigers and played many years with the Tigers. So it ended up being a great thing for me.
Yeah, that major leaguer was Bryce Flory that was in that trade. So you go to the Tigers, you played at Single A Lakeland. You moved up eventually to Triple A with the Toledo Mud Hens by 2001. And then you got the call up after, in 2002.
Right.
And describe that feeling when you got the call that, hey, you're coming up to the big leagues.
Well, there was speculation that I was getting the call up, and I'd been pitching well. It was 2 months into my second year with Toledo. I was there in 2001, and I repeated in 2002, which Toledo being the AAA level, which is a level right under the big leagues. The first 2 months of the season, I started off really well and was really just pitching extremely well. And so, of course, it's on your mind. I also learned from my season from 2001 not to worry about things you can't control. And, when am I going to get my chance? And I focused too much on that, I felt like, in 2001. And one of the things that I was able to do in 2002 was just focus on what I could control, and that was my pitching. And so as I kept pitching well, I kept just telling myself, focus on that. And then you start hearing speculation that, hey, you're going to get a chance, and you're going to start up there. And then all of a sudden, you get the phone call. I tell you that you're getting called up to the big leagues. Once again, it's one of those moments that takes a little while for it to sink in because you spend so many years and really decades just trying for every step along the way that it's kind of starts taking place. You know, it's, you know, you know that you got to go in, just kind of work your way up. And at that moment, it was one of those phone calls where you don't have much to say. It's okay, yes, sounds good, you know, and then you got to get off the phone and what just happened? Did that really happen? And so definitely a great moment.
A tremendous moment, and does going through that, playing in the minors, and knowing, you know, all the emotions that a minor league baseball player goes through as far as learning the game, the teaching aspect of it, and then knowing, okay, am I getting traded and getting called up? How does that help you now in coaching these guys who want to end up being in the big leagues?
Well, just knowing what they're going through. That's the greatest thing about you know, being able to take my experience and share it with these guys. I've been where they've been, and you know, all the way to where they're trying to go. So with that experience, I'm able to share it and know exactly what they're going through, highs and lows. You know, and it really helps as far as from a coaching standpoint, being able to point them in the right direction.
Now, of course, this all got started when you were at UCF. What was it that led you to decide to play college baseball at UCF?
It was actually a late decision. It was actually over the summer going into my freshman year. I decided to go to UCF. I'd been talking with UCF for months. I started talking to him in the fall, going into my senior year, and knew there was some interest, and kind of went dry. And I ended up committing to Florida, but I was just going to be a walk-on. So I was going to take my chances and go there. And then I ended up getting a phone call again from UCF, and just kind of restarted the talks, just saying, you know, hey, we still would love to have you. And you know, started talking. It just made sense for me to have the opportunity to go to UCF and play, as opposed to taking my chances going to Florida. And you know, I wanted to play at a Division I school for sure, and somewhere close to home. And you know, so once the UCF opportunity came up, I decided to take it. And to be honest with you, at the time, one of the big factors that played into it was UCF was ranked higher than Florida was the year before that. That was the year that they'd won 29 games in a row in 96. You know, so they made a big push there and had a great season. So really that kind of played into my decision too. So
that's pretty wild that you came that close. And people, most of our audience may not be aware of this. Back then, UCF did not have the on-campus baseball stadium that they do now. The baseball stadium that's on campus currently was built and opened in 2001. Describe for the audience where UCF back then was playing their games, and what was that like?
We were playing on the other side of campus, and the campus has completely changed from when I was there. It's amazing now. You know, back when I was there, it was completely different. You know, there wasn't a lot of the things that are there now. We were on the other side of the campus where the intramurals, I believe, the intramural fields are. And it wasn't a nice stadium. Is more. You could probably compare it more to a high school field than a Division I college field, to be honest with you. But so it's definitely been upgraded from then to now. But like I said, you know, the team, I knew the team was good and it was going to be competitive. It was a Division I school. We're going to be playing good competition. And so regardless of the field, it was close to home, and it made sense for me. And you know, I enjoy my time. Obviously the guys that I was with, playing on those fields is a lot different, but I think there's something special about that.
All right, stick around. We'll be back with more with Mike Maroth after this. The Black and Gold Banneret podcast is brought to you by the Unger Real Estate Group, powered by eXp Realty. Sam Unger and his team proudly serve Orange, Seminole, and Lake counties, specializing in buying, selling, and new construction. Sam is a proud UCF graduate, class of 2006, and he's such a dedicated Knight fan that right now If you work with him as your realtor, he will donate a portion of his commission to the UCF Football Excellence Fund in your name. So if you're ready to buy a new home or sell your current home, upgrade or downsize, Sam and his team have you covered so you can find the right home at the right price in the right location. So give him a call right now at 407-790-9957. Again, that's 407-790-9957. Or visit on the web at WeSellOrlando.net. Again, that's WeSellOrlando.net. You can also reach them on Facebook at facebook.com/WeSellOrlando. Get in touch with the Unger Real Estate Group today and make finding your dream home a reality.
Hello, Night Nation. I'm Andrew Fegley.
And I'm Trey Strelko. Where are we? This isn't our usual spot.
It looks like we've landed in the Black and Gold Banneret podcast.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of those guys.
You know, Nightline has UCF sports covered.
Week in and week out, we bring you interviews with newsmakers and in-depth analysis of UCF sports.
Subscribe to our weekly podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Be sure to subscribe to Nightline on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at UCF_Nightline.
Trace, can we go back to the 1148 studios now and start working on our next all-new Nightline?
How do we get out of here? Go Knights!
Charge on.
Now back to you guys in the Black and Gold Banneret podcast.
Welcome back to the Black and Gold Banneret podcast. Let's get back to Eric Lopez's conversation with former UCF and Major League Baseball pitcher, now the current pitching coach for the Florida Fire Frogs, Mike Maroth.
Describe the feeling that first time you decided at this point you go to UCF. But when was the first time you stepped on for a first practice as a UCF player? Do you remember that? And what was that like? Of course, Coach Bergman was the coach at the time. And you mentioned the facilities, how they were back then. But describe that day. What was it? Was it the fall night? What was it? 96?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the fall season where we go out there. I believe it started probably at the beginning of September. I got out there. Obviously, I was nervous. Going out there, completely new team. Didn't know a lot of the guys. Just from the only time I knew them was really the interaction we had, whether it was before, like in classes or just getting together. So we didn't really have too much interaction on the field until then. So I was definitely nervous going out there. I knew that I was the young kid. I just remember, obviously, the guys being 2 or 3 years older and a lot more mature physically than I was. So I knew going into it, I was going to have to put in a lot of work.
And you describe your career at UCF. How would you describe it, and what were some of your favorite moments from your time at UCF? You were part of a team that won what was back then I think called the TAC Championship. It's now referred to as the A-Sun, and you got to make the NCAA tournament appearance. Well, can describe that time?
It was great. I mean, like I said, it was just how I thought when I went there, that I was going to have good competition. It was going to be competitive. We're going to play against good competition, and we were going to be able to compete too and be able to play at that level. And we were. We ended up winning the TAC. We ended up going on to playing the tournament a couple of years. The year that we didn't was my junior year, and we probably were more talented that year than we were the 2 previous years, which we just, in my mind, underperformed that year, but came up just a little short of the tournament. But it was a great competition and enjoyed it. There's, the moments obviously of winning any kind of championship is priceless. And just be able to experience that. We played against some of the top schools in the country. It seemed like every year we were ranked in the top 25, so very competitive. I definitely remember all the times that we played some of that higher competition because it gave us a chance to prove ourselves.
I believe, yeah, and you played in of course, no surprise, UCF baseball fans wouldn't be surprised, the Tallahassee Regional. You got sent to Tallahassee, which it seems like almost every UCF baseball team gets sent to.
Oh, yeah.
What was that feeling like to play at Dick Kowser Stadium against the programs like Florida State and the teams that were in that regional?
That was good. I mean, it's where you want to be. You want to play against the best. And like I said, we're always out to prove something because UCF kind of got overlooked a lot. And so anytime we had a chance, especially to play one of the Florida schools, it gave us an opportunity to kind of to prove who we were, and we could beat anybody. Unfortunately, we fell short in those regionals. We never moved on, and they've changed their format now to where there's more teams, and you have the super regionals. Back then, it was set up differently, and so you went from the regional straight to the College World Series. You had to win your regional, so it's a little bit more difficult, in my opinion, back then, because you had 6 teams you're going up against, even though there wasn't a super regional. So definitely a different format now than it was back then.
And I believe you were used as a starter and as a reliever at times, right? It was kind of depending on the circumstances. I mean, describe how you were used in any games that stood out as far as your pitching career against any that from your UCF career.
Right. Well, I mean, if I look back at my 3 years, you come in, like I said, I had to work hard, had to prove myself, and it took a while for me to get an opportunity my freshman year to prove myself. But when I did, it was later in the year that I started getting a chance to pitch. Well, I started pitching well and made a pretty good impact and influenced the coaches as far as knowing that I could go out there and compete. So that set me up well for, my sophomore year, and continued just to develop. Played in summer leagues over the summer in Virginia, and just continued to try and get better. Sophomore year, got more playing time. I ended up, starting some games, kind of split time there. Then my junior year was one of the starters, and unfortunately, right in the middle of the season, I ended up getting mononucleosis, which impacted my junior year, literally right in the middle of the season. So I ended up missing about 6 weeks of the season because of the mono.
Wow, and he had to overcome that, and that's part of it, right? When you're playing as a player, you have to overcome adversity, which I'm sure is the message you tell some of your players sometimes, that you're not going to be it's not ever going to be 100% perfect every time you go out there, that you have to overcome certain things.
100%. There's so much, especially for a pitcher, that's out of your control. There's only so much you can control, and most of it takes place right on that dirt, right in the middle on the mound. Once that ball leaves your hand, there's so much that's out of your control. You can do everything right, but the results might not dictate that. So you learn pretty on in baseball that you're going to have to deal with adversity, and there's a lot of things that you can't control. And when it is something you can't control, you can't dwell on it. You got to continue just to focus on what you can do. And during that time, obviously, I had to wait and be patient and let my body heal. And with the mono, you lose a lot of strength, you lose weight. So I had to come back and work as quick as I could, but be smart about it to get back to where I was in full strength. And it took a little bit of time for that, but by the end of the season, I was able to do that, which helped me as far as getting drafted too.
Describe what it was like playing for Coach Bergman, for those that maybe didn't, never played for him, obviously, or didn't know what he was like.
He was awesome. Loved Coach Bergman. He was almost like a father figure to a lot of us. He cared about us more than just what we brought to on the field. He also pushed us on the field and got the most out of us. And I think that was one of the reasons why year in and year out we were so competitive, is because he demanded our best, and when we weren't given it, he would let us know. And but then also he's very compassionate to just us being students and pursuing what we love to do. So you could always be an ear to listen, and it's somebody you'd always be able to talk to.
And I know you still follow the baseball program. What's your thoughts on the baseball program, how it's growing? You talked about the stadium and the facilities they have now, but obviously they've gone on to different conferences, had success, made to the NCAA tournaments. And I know you've had a chance to even meet Greg Lovelady, the current head coach. Yeah,
I'm in contact with him, and actually saw him not too long ago. And I was actually at the facility and got to see the expansion. And it's amazing. I mean, it looks amazing. I saw it when it first went up before they started putting up, the upper decks and did the suites. And, it's come so far in such a little time. It's beautiful. I just sat there when I was looking at the stadium, just like, man, this is incredible. Just to be able to be on that field, like in college, and have that kind of atmosphere, and just being in that environment is just pretty special. And I know those guys, appreciate everything on the field. Being able to meet Greg, and he's been awesome. He stays connected with all the alumni, keeps us up to date. He looks as the program as a whole and all the people who have come before him, and which is, I feel like, is important. And he's done that. And so I've been in contact with him, and I love to hear from him and see how everything's going. Definitely keeps me in a loop on what's going on with UCF baseball.
Did you reach out to him, or did he reach out to you? Because I know when he arrived and he tried to reach out to a lot of the alumni, and I remember before his first game as a head coach at UCF, I think he had a big night where he invited a lot of the alumni to watch the season opener in his first game, including Coach Bergman returning. A lot of the former players were there. Describe how that interaction came about with you and Coach Lovelady.
Yeah, he was the one that was proactive. When he took over the program, he reached out to a lot of the alumni. He let us know that he wanted us to be a part of the program, and that just because we weren't playing there anymore and he had no connection with us, he knew that we were connected to UCF baseball, and we were all a baseball family. And, so he's very proactive in reaching out to the alumni. And he continues to, now that he's, several years into it, he continues to keep us all in a loop, inviting us out, making us feel like we're welcome at any point. So it has been great. We all appreciate that as alumni, of course. And it definitely keeps us more involved and more into what's going on with the baseball program.
Yeah, I can definitely tell, having been around the program the last couple of years, the difference. I know Jason Arnold goes to a few games now a year. Have you been to a game recently? I know it's a busy schedule with your coaching career, so I don't know if you've had have you had a chance to go?
It is hard to go. I did not make it out to a game this year, but I did last year. I made it to a couple. So, I make it out when I can, take my kids out there. Like I said, I was there just a couple weeks ago. My kids were in the camp over the summer camp, the baseball camp. So I was out there for that, got to see it. So try and stay connected and be a part of it as much as I can, but especially with baseball, my baseball season is the same time as the college season for the most part. So it's really difficult to have the time to get out there and do things. But definitely want to and want to get out there more.
The one sport that doesn't conflict is football. And I know you follow the football program, and I think you told me even off the air that you were at Atlanta for the Peach Bowl against Auburn. Is that right?
Yes, I was. I had the opportunity to go, and we went, and it was awesome. We had a blast. I went with my wife, and what a great game. Definitely a memorable moment, not just for us, but for the program. And just to be able to be there and be a part of it was really, really special.
Pretty remarkable. Of course, we talked earlier about what it was like when you arrived at UCF. I mean, they didn't have a football stadium either. They were playing at the old Citrus Bowl. Dante Culpepper was a student at the time. To go back. I mean, what was that like? To see the football program grow. When you arrived, Dante Culpepper was there. They were just right now really starting into Division I football to now where they have their own on-campus stadium and go undefeated and is nationally ranked and national title claims and getting national attention like they have.
Well, I mean, just if being a student or just being a alumni of UCF and know where the program's gone, just not from just a athletic, but even just like the school. I mean, just how big it's gotten, how beautiful it is. And I mean, it's come so far in such short period of time. Same thing with all the athletic programs. Football, when you talk about athletics, is always number one when you talk about college. And so they've kind of set the tone for that, and really it's been pretty cool to see how they've gone from Division I in such a short period of time to where they are now. I felt like when Dante was there at the school, that really helped. And I don't, obviously that was the time that I was there, so I'm a little biased to it, but I believe that was almost a turning point for the program. It kind of catapulted them to where they are now. And, it's been really, really neat to follow it and to see it. And, sometimes frustrating, obviously the season a couple years ago where they didn't win a game and, the remarkable turnaround and 2 years later to go undefeated. So there's been ups and downs, but just to see where it's come from the time that I was there to now has been awesome. And, pushing for him to continue that. And I'd love to see him, get even more attention, and they're deserving of it for sure. And obviously with the national title claims, I'm all for it because, just the way it is. Football is one of those unique sports in college where if you're not one of 25 teams, you don't have a chance before the year starts of winning a national title, which is crazy. UCF couldn't have done anything more than what they did. And of course, not to have the opportunity to prove themselves, it's kind of disappointing.
It really is. And that's one of the things I've always said. I always felt that college baseball has the best tournament as far as anybody can win the national title. That's been proven. Coastal Carolina won the national title a couple of years ago. Fresno State has won the national title. You've had teams like Stony Brook make the College World Series, and I always felt like college baseball had it right, and football just hasn't really been able to embrace that for a variety of reasons we won't get into. But, I mean, you could speak to it as being somebody that played. I mean, sure, when you play UCF, you guys felt like, hey, we can make it to Omaha, and there was nothing that was going to hold us back. It was really in our control, right?
100%. 100%. You can say that about basketball,
Yep.
with the basketball tournament. Everybody has an opportunity to go and has the same opportunity as everyone else. But in football, unfortunately, it's not like that, and obviously there's some challenges they face that other sports don't have to. But, it's just sad that if you're not at a certain school, you go into a school knowing you don't have a chance to play for a championship, national championships is that's tough. It's just to know before the season, it kind of hurts those hopes. But, in baseball, we always believed, and when that season started, we wanted our goal was set to go to Omaha and go to the College World Series and win it. So just to be able to have that opportunity and know that existed was definitely a motivation right from the first day of practice into the first game all the way throughout the season.
How much of the alumni do you stay in touch with? I know because there's a lot of. I mean, people don't realize the great tradition that UCF baseball has with guys. Not only with they going on to play while at UCF, but even beyond. I mean, Chad Mottola is a hitting coach with the Rays, for example. I mean, and it goes across the country. I'm sure you all follow each other, and I don't know how often do you know each other, but I'm sure there's some people that even when you went to school with, you still stay in touch with.
Oh yeah, for sure. And just like you said, with there's guys in professional baseball that all have went to UCF, and we've got actually some in our organization. We got one in the big leagues right now, Dan Winkler. He's pitching for us. And so anytime you have that UCF right next to your name as far as where you went, you'll have that connection, and you're just instantly just connected, and you have something to talk about, and it's definitely a bond that you have. And so anytime you see somebody that that goes to UCF, no matter whether they're a minor league guy or a major league guy or another sport, there's always that bond there. And you're always following and pulling for each other, which is pretty cool.
Tell us a little bit about the Fire Frogs. Here you got still a little bit to go here in your season here, and for those that maybe not be aware, here in the Central Florida for the Fire Frogs, a second season in the Central Florida area Braves organization. Just tell us a little bit about them.
Well, it's this is the Advanced A League, which is you have two more leagues before the big leagues. In the minors, there's several different levels. So this is kind of right in the middle. And I've got a young pitching staff. I've got a lot of talent, some prospects, some guys that have what it takes to pitch at the major league level. And I've been fortunate enough just to be able to work with them and have an opportunity to influence and help them just get a little bit better and develop. And I'd say that about all my guys this year. We got a month to go, but to this point, after the first 4 months, they're all making strides forward and getting better. So they're going to be ready for hopefully the next level next year, if not before.
That's got to be fascinating too. Is like you guys want to win every game, but you also have to develop players. But that's got to be exciting that in your you have a part in helping these young men and achieve a dream and their future aspirations.
Oh, 100%. And it is two parts. It's the part, yes, you want to win. We're trying to win, but you also got to develop. And then that comes first because that's what this is about. The minor league is about developing. And so that's first and foremost. That is a priority of making sure these guys are getting better and developing as players. And then you're trying to take that and mold it all together and put out a winning product. So it changes throughout the year. You get guys that come and go. Just based off of when they're ready to move and when they're not. So it's not the same team from day one to the last day of the season. So you get new guys that come in and you get guys that are ready for the next level, and you send them off and they go up to the next level, one step closer to the major leagues, and which is always a great moment. to be able to see them get one step closer. So it's constant work with different guys, with new guys coming in and guys that have been here. And so it's each and every day, you go out there and you're trying to get them better. They're telling themselves every day, how can I get myself better? Well, as a coach, what I'm saying is, how can I get each guy a little bit better? What can I do to help them get better each and every day? So that's kind of the whole process. And, for 5 months during the summer, that's what I'm doing.
Well, it's a cool deal. And for those that want to know more, go to FloridaFirefrogs.com. They play their home games at Osceola County Stadium. It's a great atmosphere there, and I'm sure Coach Maroth will appreciate if you go out there to yell out a little "Charge on" or "Go Knights," right? I mean, there you go. Just nothing wrong 100%. With that.
100%. Oh yeah, and I've had a few people that ended up figuring that out. And like I said, it's that bond, that UCF bond. So of course, I'd love to see that.
No problem. Coach, appreciate you taking the time from your busy schedule during the season, but it was great to catch up with you and to talk to you. I know a lot of fans, UCF fans, have always been following your career and have always wanted it. And we always get requests of people like they want to have on the program, and your name has been popped up. So it was awesome that we get to do this, and good luck the rest of the way, and we'll be in touch and, have fun, and we'll hope to see you out there.
Sounds great. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks to Mike Maroth for joining us for our exclusive interview here on the Black and Gold Banneret podcast. Awesome. Of course, you can follow the Florida Fire Frogs at FloridaFirefrogs.com. Of course, they're on Twitter. Minor league baseball there, but Mike Maroth. Cool to hear that, Jeff. I mean, that was kind of fun it's amazing. Think about that. Mike Maroth, we talked about, he was there when Dante Culpepper was there.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool to get his perspective on how the university has grown. When he arrived, he talked about how, there wasn't all these facilities on campus that there is now and how it's grown. And we kind of forget that and how that was just 20 years ago. And really excited to hear from him. He's still a big fan. He was at the Peach Bowl, as you heard. And, he brought up the fact that, college baseball, everybody can play for the national championship and and I think that was the mindset even back then with Jay Bergman at UCF. They were thinking Omaha, and you can. There's nothing that could stop you in baseball.
Well, look at now. You had you had College of Charleston win the College World Series a couple years
ago. Coastal Carolina.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Coastal Carolina. You had
Fresno State.
Fresno
won the
national
a few years title against Georgia.
Yep. And in baseball,
Stony Brook got to the women's college, got to the College World Series. Yeah.
So, that's the thing I tell people is that baseball is the one sport where year in and year out, aside from the cheerleading team, which has won 2 national championships, the year in and year out, the best base, chance to win the national championship any given year lies with UCF baseball for that reason.
And they have a tradition, and it was great to hear him talk about, he knows Greg Lovelady. Greg Lovelady reached out to him when he first arrived at UCF. I wasn't surprised. I had heard when Greg Lovelady first arrived, he reached out to the alumni, and he would know, coming from the University of Miami background, how tradition is important. And you could just sense it in Mike's voice there talking about Greg. He believes in Greg Lovelady. He believes in the alumni. He's been out there, doesn't get to go there as often because of his commitments with his coaching in baseball. But I think that's a big plus to Greg Lovelady that maybe doesn't get talked about. I think he's done a heck of a job kind of bringing back a lot of those baseball alums, especially from the Bergman era, to kind of bring them back and interested again in the program, because I think that kind of went away for a little while.
Yeah, I remember when the whole thing went down with Jay that there was kind of a flattening out of things. But, I've always been a fan of any program reaching out to the alumni as much as they possibly can. I think that it's something that I'd like to see all programs become, I think, a little bit more consistent on. There are some programs that I think do a really, really good job of it. Women's soccer, I know, does a pretty good job. Volleyball has done a very good job of it. Softball has done a very good job of it. I know you've helped out a lot with that. And to see baseball and football, and we're seeing a little bit more with basketball too, kind of get going on that. I think that would be that's such a help to the program, especially with the players now. Because
no question,
UCF is such a young university. I mean, we don't have the old films with the leather helmets and all that kind of stuff. But UCF is building a pretty good tradition, and I think if you take that tradition seriously, you can say, well, we're not that old, but we've built something here that's really important to people and we care about long after we're gone. I think that's a tremendous advantage for UCF to tell people that, hey, we're not some flash in the pan. We've actually been around a while. We got a pretty good tradition to brag about ourselves.
I really do. I agree with that, and I think we got to remember that. I know everybody always looks towards the future and to make this or that, but they've done some pretty good things to put the current programs in a certain position to be successful, and I think that's a plus. And it's been good. I mean, I saw Jason Arnold went to some of the UCF games this past year. He's actually in town. Actually, we might be getting Jason here in the next couple of weeks.
Cool.
He's got a new head coaching job that he wants to talk about, so I've been in touch with him. We're just kind of working out the schedule a little bit to make it work. He's spending some family time before he gets into coaching in his new gig, but that's cool. It's always great to see former players come back to their respective programs and show support. And I think that's I have heard that from many different players, former players, that they have embraced obviously Greg Lovelady, and I think they are engaged in where the program's at. And you heard Mike's thoughts on that, and it's great to hear Mike's thoughts and still passionate about the program, and kind of fun too to talk about his career because he almost didn't come here. I mean, almost as he talked about in the interview, and how he was used between a starter and a bullpen, and he had to overcome an injury and to go become a third-round pick. I mean, it was a great talk. We'll probably get him on again. I didn't get a chance to ask him because we hit so many topics. We didn't get a chance to talk about how he played with Justin Verlander.
Yeah,
who did pretty well. But
I Justin Verlander at the time too, right?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, he's got a hell of a story, and he's obviously got a big responsibility with the Fire Frogs because, as he talked about in the interview, it's not really about necessarily just about winning games up there. It's about developing guys and helping them get to their dream job, their goal, which is the big leagues. And who better than a Mike Maroth, who's experienced all of it, is fascinating. So I really enjoyed kind of that journey and wondering why he got into coaching, because that was always something I was interested in. And hopefully I think UCF fans, especially diehard baseball fans, will enjoy that and enjoyed that hearing from Mike. Cause I don't know how many people have heard from Mike in a while. So I think, that's one of the things we try kind of pride ourselves doing here at the Banneret is we kind of try to bring back some of the alums to kind of see how they're doing. We had different sports. We've kind of pride ourselves on that, and it was good to add Mike to that list.
Cool. So I wanted to thank Mike for his time and his generosity, and we also want to thank the folks at the Fire Frogs too for doing that too. I mean, those guys never get enough love, and you can check out the Fire Frogs at FloridaFireFrogs.com. They're the Class Single A advanced affiliate of the Atlanta Braves, and they play their games down in Kissimmee. Is it the same place where the Astros used to play?
Correct,
their spring training,
Osceola
right?
Stadium.
Osceola
I believe
Stadium.
it's Osceola Stadium. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So you can see them around.
They're on Twitter.
You can also follow them on Twitter at FireFrogsBB, FireFrogsBB, and they, interestingly enough, they play in the Florida State League with a bunch of other teams that are actually from not far around. Like, for example, the Daytona Tortugas, who play up at Jackie Robinson Ballpark, where Bethune-Cookman plays. We've been there many times before. The Tampa Tarpons, who are the Yankees affiliate, and the Lakeland Flying Tigers. So, and the Clearwater Threshers, of course, as well. So be sure to follow them again. FloridaFireFrogs.com for all the latest on the Fire Frogs. All right, Elo, let's wrap this thing up. Thanks again for the legwork on this, man. This was a good one.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really cool to talk to Mike and check out Black and Gold Banneret. I also got my story up. Shelby Turner, you mentioned at the beginning there, I wrote a story. Shelby, congrats to her. Her Bandits are going to be playing for the NPF Championship in a couple of weeks at Rosemont. Mm-hmm. Best of 5 series against USSSA Pride. Shelby's trying to win her second NPF championship. She's in the mix to maybe win Pitcher of the Year and all NPF honors in that league, which no UCF softball player's ever done before. So I write about that and how I think maybe Shelby's trying to make a case to be the greatest softball player to ever come out of UCF and maybe the second greatest female athlete in the history of UCF athletics.
That's good stuff. I was checking a look at that earlier, and that's excellent stuff that you can find at blackandgoldbanneret.com. You can also follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/blackandgoldbanneret and follow us on Twitter at UCF_Banneret. You can follow me at Jeff_Sharon. Follow Eric at Eric Lopez Elo. And follow Brian Murphy at spokes_Murphy. And Derek Warden _DS Warden on Twitter as well. Subscribe to us if you don't already. And leave a rating, by the way, on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Google Play. Eric, thanks again, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
It's always a blast, my friend.
And thanks to you for listening. This has been the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast Summer Sessions. We'll catch you later on with some more interviews with UCF alumni and newsmakers once again down the road. This has been the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast.